I always try to tell you, even through the most horrific stories that the media brings us or what they try to tell us, there's always good news. There's always some sort of a bright spot in here, and there's more and more of it every single day, if you happen to notice, because more common sense is trickling its way into these news stories. Now, why is it happening? Because you, me, everybody else, we're demanding it. Now, the stories they're never going to stop trying to push a narrative on you, but they're getting forced into telling you the truth. Case in point, another deadly commercial driver incident, this time in California. And the thing that keeps on happening that they told me wasn't a thing, it was just an isolated incident last month in Florida, well, it happened again. And take a guess what kind of driver it was. But here's the difference in this one. They're actually starting to report it this time, as opposed to last time. Last time when this happened, the most notable story on Florida's Turnpike, it took them like 3 days to finally get beaten down enough to tell the truth. This time, only about 12 hours, and that's a good sign. President Trump has actually gotten prominent media Democrats to defend drug boats. It might be his greatest accomplishment yet. I'm not completely too sure. Also have a little bit of entertainment and sports news, actually more media news. The NFL is tripling down on Bad Bunny. And you'll hear from the commissioner himself. They don't care about the audience. That's the takeaway on this one. And is very bad news for Starbucks baristas. Not the kind of like college kids just working their part-time jobs and trying to make some extra money. I mean like the baristas who saw this as a career opportunity. Because AI is coming into all of our lives. It's coming into their life like right away. We'll talk about that as well. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Wicked Radio live stream. And then the pod replay all day long, all your favorite channels. Wherever you look for that, you're going to find me. Also, the audio podcast only. Make sure you download and like and follow and all that crap. Let's get right to it. The thing that they told me was an isolated incident in Florida last month has happened again, sadly, this time in California. Here's the news story. This is near Ontario, California.
Exclusive dash cam video, which is now the subject of several law enforcement investigations. It shows the moment a red semi-truck plowed into a number of vehicles on the westbound 10 freeway in Ontario just after 1 p.m. yesterday. The CHP told the LA Times the driver of this big rig is a 21-year-old man who is now under arrest on suspicion of driving under the influence of drugs.
Now that, I should have warned you, actually, if you hadn't seen that story yet, if you saw the video, that is one of the most horrific things I've ever seen. I see a lot, you do too, but this thing popped up on my feed, and I'm like, whoa, oh my God, what is that? And then sure enough, the story turns out to be another illegal driver who could barely speak English or certainly not understand the signs, on drugs. The news report had it right there, but right away, and that was ABC7 out of California. I would like to congratulate, though, ABC7. Actually, moreover than that, I would like to congratulate you and the American people for demanding the truth on this. Because you heard it right there. She was starting to give the details about who the driver was because we were all asking the question and they were first on the scene. Starting to give the details, 21 years old, on drugs, they knew that much. So you got to understand, if they know that much, they know exactly who the driver was, but they can't say it yet. They'll always tell you it's because of the ongoing investigation. It's really because they don't want to get canceled, is what it is. But here's the difference now, and this is why this is the good news in this horrific story, why there's actual good news, and you got to look at it this way. It wasn't right away. It took some time, but ABC7, that same news outlet, did come out and confirm the name of the driver and the details on who he is, where he's from, when he got here, and also more details on what he was on when this all happened. So I give them credit on this because they were forced to. Jashanpreet Singh was the driver. Jashanpreet Singh came to America illegally, according to ABC7, in 2022. 2022? Who was president then? 21 years old, on all kinds of drugs. Story confirmed. We've got 3 people dead. 4 were in critical condition in the hospital as of last night. And it happened again. So you've got California issuing another commercial driver's license to somebody that shouldn't have gotten one, shouldn't have been in the country. And the positive on this is people demanded the information to understand who this is. Now, when this happened, you got to go back to that horrific story, just as horrific, maybe even worse. Last month, maybe a month and a half ago on Florida's Turnpike, where the family was killed by an illegal commercial driver's license trucker. Same thing, illegal U-turn, just creamed this family in a minivan. So they told us at the time, and it took way longer at the time to get the details on that driver until the pushback finally happened. They told us that that's an extremely isolated incident. Is it? And you're gonna hear from people all the time that will tell you, and there'll be media outlets that telling you that, well, everybody deserves a chance. It doesn't matter that he was here illegally. It doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't matter? Well, if he had been rounded up by all these ICE movements that the protesters are all upset about, you'd have 3 people alive and 4 people not in the hospital this morning, and they just would have gone about their way on the I-10 in California. So here's another example. Here's another example of why you need this and why they need to crack down on this. Apparently, it's tougher in California. Other states, I know in the South, I know for sure in Florida, DeSantis cracked down on illegal truckers. And in Georgia, I think South Carolina, North Carolina, southeastern states definitely have. I can imagine, don't know for a fact, but I can imagine that the state of California hasn't done a damn thing to crack down on illegal truckers. And here's your danger. Well, everybody deserves a chance at a working life. No. Not when you put my life at risk or any other American's life at risk because you're high as a kite, you can't read road warnings, and you don't know what you're doing, and you were issued, God knows how, a commercial driver's license, and you only got into the country in 2022, and it was illegal. There's the bottom line. That's common sense to everybody, and anybody that tells you different is lying through their teeth. But here's another case, and it's so sad that it comes to this. They were a really, really prominent story, and this really is a big headline story, comes out and actually says this to point it out to everybody. But it did happen. But again, let's look at the positive and the takeaway. It wasn't right away. That was the first initial story. It wasn't right away. It took a few hours. It actually took close to 10 or 12 hours. But even that very same outlet, that same news report, ABC7 in California, out of the LA market, had to give you his name, that he was here illegal, all the details about the drugs, and he was issued a commercial driver's license illegally by the state of California. We're winning. Eventually, they're going to have to start to tell the truth. And why did that happen? Why? Because you demanded it. Because their viewers, whoever it was, demanded it. And that's how you make change. That's why it's so important. It seems like a silly thing. If you ever go like on their own X account or their Facebook account or their news account, whatever it is, and people comment all the time, they see that stuff. They really do. It seems like you're just throwing that comment or your opinion into the wind. They actually do see it. And if you hammer these media outlets enough about them lying or covering up a story or trying to push an agenda, they do actually get to it. And that's proof positive. You have to keep on them. Otherwise, they'll never tell you the truth. Speaking of the media, and I guess that's our theme today, a lot of media stories. Well, we've got another drug boat that was blown up by the military. And I'll be completely honest with you. Call me a horrible person all you want. You've seen them. You've seen these posted. Maybe you saw it on your Facebook feed or right here on X, and you see the video. And it's always like an infrared video. They show the drug boat. They're always fast boats. They're like flying. And then all of a sudden you see that flash of light, and the military got them with a Sidewinder missile. I feel no sympathy, certainly no empathy for the drug boats that are blown up. In fact, I kind of look forward to those videos. I'm just opening up and being completely honest with you. But I have a feeling that you're thinking the same thing. Because what do we all know? They're not citizens coming here. They're drug boats, okay? Now, this got to the White House press room yesterday where President Trump, more specifically Marco Rubio, explained what they're doing with these things. And nipped right in the bud. And this is where Marco Rubio is like the most improved player. Nipped it right in the bud, the narrative they're trying to push, where these are just, we don't know. We don't know who these people in the boats are. Well, they squashed that right away.
Well, I mean, the question is, bottom line, these are drug boats. If people want to stop seeing drug boats blow up, stop sending drugs to the United States.
But does it matter if it's in the United States?
Well, these are all in international waters. The boat.
Do a strike in the United States, or if Northern
Well, that's a different matter. Now you're talking about a law enforcement matter. In this particular case, there are people traveling on international waters headed towards the United States with hostilities in mind, which includes flooding our country with dangerous, deadly drugs. And they're going to be stopped. And that's what's happening. And in the case last week, you saw there was a submarine. It was a submarine. It was a submersible. That's a drug boat all the way through. We know what these boats are. The president just said it. We tracked them from the...
I love it. First of all, he did such a good job in explaining it right there. They're drug boats. We know they're international waters. Last week, a submarine. This time was a fast boat. We blew it up. End of story. I love it. But what do they do? But because it's coming from this administration, what are they trying to push? What are they trying to say? We don't know. We don't know what these boat, and they'll come up with a narrative of the words, what these sailors are. Sailors. Oh, I'm sorry. Call me crazy if I see a submarine headed towards the U.S. at a high rate of speed. Forgive me if I'm wrong here, but I tend to assume that they're not headed to Florida for a family vacation at Disney World, okay? Everybody with an ounce of common sense knows they're drug boats. But don't let that stop the media and the famous Democrat media outlets from turning the other page on this. It might be, love him or hate him, it might be Trump's greatest accomplishment, the greatest accomplishment of this administration. He's gotten prominent Democrat voices to defend drug cartels. Like, that's really happening. You don't believe me? Here's Jessica Tarloff on The View.
I remember the day the first boat was struck, and Jesse told me, do you want to be on the side of narco-terrorists? And I said, no, not especially. Like, let's see where this goes. And now we're up to multiple boats, and it's not just Venezuelan boats. The Colombians say that one of the boats was theirs, and that 2 Colombian nationals, I think 2 or 3, were murdered when they were struck, and that they weren't drug traffickers. Now, do I know if that's the case or not? I'm not sure, but there is a reason that we're—
Don't let that stop you.
Well, don't let—
I said it was on The View. I'm sorry. It was on The 5, and it's fantastic. I used to think that she was just on there as kind of like, like the fodder. CNN has Scott Jennings on there, and they try to beat him up, but he does a great job. And I thought Jessica Tarloff was kind of like playing a role on Fox to try to just egg them on. She's great for content. She gets everybody worked up. Talk about comments on their social media. Everybody gets so worked up about her. And I've always tried to tell people, look, she's there for it's not comic relief, but it's like interplay. Because otherwise on The 5, you have 5 people agreeing with each other, and you don't have anything. No, I think she actually, I think she's that lost. I really do. I think she, after hearing that, well, we don't know, I don't want to defend narco. Do I know that they're ordinary citizens? No, but, we don't want to do this. Okay. They're losing this now. Everybody looks at this. How can you look at a video of a fast boat heading towards U.S. shores and not assume that they're up to bad things? Well, we can't have him do this. He's got them defending narco terrorists, which, again, by the way, was a massive, massive part. They try to pretend that all of this is just a surprise, and they're doing this without any approval, or they didn't tell anybody they were going to do this. I remember distinctly in the campaign in late 2024 that they said that Trump was on stage at rallies saying they were going to do this. They're going to blow up narco boats. I remember him saying that personally. I don't know. They pretend to forget. Who the hell knows? All right, let's get out of that. Get into some sports, entertainment, /media/TV. I don't know. The pushback has been really something. And I think this kind of like transcends a sports story. I really do. Now, the Super Bowl itself is it's just such a huge, iconic media event, right? The All-American event. The Super Bowl has become a holiday. This is why I always say we should make it Super Saturday so you have Sunday to recover. It's become that big. So when something controversial happens, the NFL embraces it, loves it, triples down on it, and they love this. Roger Goodell, commissioner of the NFL, he's my personal enemy. Well, not personally, but no fan of the guy. In this one clip shows you that he could not possibly care less about what the NFL audience wants. This is the same guy pushing for international games. They want teams in Europe. They want teams in South America. They want an 18-game schedule. All fans everywhere are pushing against this. And the controversy has come up now about, the halftime entertainer Bad Bunny, who has outwardly said he doesn't like America, wants to make this all in Spanish. Recently at a Major League Baseball playoff game, refused to stand for the national anthem. I don't know if you saw that one. See, now, you got to understand how this is not going to change. I've seen the petitions. I think somebody put a change.org on here, and they try to get the NFL to drop Bad Bunny for the halftime. Every time this gets more media attention, they'll triple down because they see this as a win, because it just means more attention. They don't care about the controversy. They don't care about what the guy's all about. They don't care about the music. I'll bet you a shiny new dime right now that Roger Goodell has absolutely no idea what Bad Bunny's quote-unquote music is all about. What he wants is the media attention. So it should not surprise you at all that they're tripling down on defending Bad Bunny. Guys, this Super Bowl halftime show is not going to change.
When you guys chose Bad Bunny for the Super Bowl, there was some blowback from that. I wonder what you make of that situation and what went into the decision to choose Bad Bunny as your Super Bowl halftime performer.
He's one of the leading and most popular entertainers in the world. That's what we try to achieve. It's an important stage for us. It's an important element to the entertainment value. It's carefully thought through. I would say that I'm not sure we've ever selected an artist where we didn't have some blowback or criticism.
Again, that they love. They love the blowback. They love the criticism. And I'll say this. You know, I don't know whether, I think Turning Point USA was trying to organize this. I don't know whether they're going to officially confirm an alternate halftime show. And before I was kind of iffy on this. I was, I don't know. Is that going to be kind of goofy? I'm all in favor of it now, just because of the arrogance of him and the NFL. I'm all in favor of it. I hope they do have something, and I hope people do tune it in. It'll probably be live streaming, and I hope they get massive, massive numbers. I hope so, because I will watch that too. I will get away from the NFL halftime show, and I will go to that. But here's how this works. No, regardless of what happens, let's say there's some kind of a streaming show, an alternative one that Turning Point puts together, and it gets just millions, tens of millions of views. Really takes a chunk out of the NFL halftime show. I'm just warning you now ahead of time, this is what's going to happen. It's not like people will turn off their actual TV and go to this thing. They'll just, have it on to the side or a phone or whatever it is. And regardless of what happens or how big any kind of an alternative show is going to be, the NFL is going to claim it was nothing. That's just going to happen. That's just how they work. You got to understand how powerful the NFL is. And they'll say, no, it looks, our Nelson Media Research says that no difference whatsoever. And it was the biggest halftime show of all time, which they say every single year. So understand that from them. But there is a way this can make a difference. You know who will pay attention to how many eyeballs were on whatever alternative streaming halftime show pops up? The advertisers. The advertisers will. Because if it happens again next Super Bowl, they'll put it together again. It'll be more organized. It'll be bigger artists to compete with the NFL. And advertisers who are looking for a deal, a cheaper priced ad, will turn to that instead of the NFL. And that will get the NFL's attention. That's how you do it. So I was iffy before, but now that I heard that arrogant D-bag triple down on Bad Bunny and not listen to the audience whatsoever. I hope this alternative halftime show for the NFL is for Turning Point or whoever organizes it to compete with them. I hope it's huge. I'll support it all I can. I hope so anyway. All right, let's wrap it up with something kind of fun, but not fun if you're a career barista at Starbucks. Not like the poor college kids or high school kids just trying to get along in a part-time job. I'm talking about like the baristas who see this as like a career. You know what I mean? Like full-time, which is never designed to be. That's not the business model. Well, it's bad news because when you go on strike, and they did many times, there have been many Starbucks strikes over the past 5 years, a lot. Remember they unionized on the West Coast? The baristas unionized, and then they demanded 25, 30. I think maybe in California it went up to $35 an hour they wanted. Slinging coffee. Yeah, exactly. Well, what's the natural business response to that? Automation. Not only automation, but Starbucks CEO recently shared some ways to Fortune magazine that they're integrating AI, that's right, into their business. Artificial intelligence is coming to us all, and it's not all a bad thing, but it would be for the baristas. So here's your deal. The CEO's name is Brian Nickel. He talked about ways they're planning to integrate AI into their business model. And the intriguing thing is some sort of AI barista that could predict a customer's order. Now, it would be through the online process, I suppose, and you get there and they're ready and they have your order already. Bottom line is this is what this means. Automation, because you as a worker group priced yourself out of the market and it's coming. Didn't have to be that way, but they unionized. They demanded $30+ an hour in California, despite the cost of living. I understand all of that, and I want people to do well. But this should shock no one. And let me tell you, let me throw this one last thing in there. It's Starbucks we're talking about. We've all seen the controversial things about writing nasty things on people's cups and, because you're wearing a Trump shirt or something like this. Just ask yourself this one question. Do you think the Starbucks customer base would really mind an automated barista if they got the drink right? Don't think they would. So I think the baristas are going to lose on this one. But we'll see. All right, the main takeaway with the horrific, deadly trucker crash in California, there is a bright takeaway on this, and this is why you have to stay on these media outlets and demand transparency. They did start to tell the truth. That's the shocking thing about this. They did start to tell the truth and report the story, and now it's everywhere, that this guy is illegal when he came in 2022 and was high, and they gave his name even. That's a change, and that's because people demanded the truth. Keep up with that. All right, we're almost into Friday. God, tomorrow's going to be Friday. Can't wait to see what's in the news. Who the hell knows? But we're going to talk about it and keep you out of the lunacy, make you a free thinker. Thanks for finding the Wicked Radio live stream podcast, wherever you like to find them. Audio downloads, too. Don't forget about that. Subscribe, and on Spotify, it's like, and like on Facebook as well. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.